Alright, so Snake Plisskenist, I have a positive attitude towards you because you seem like you might be brave, and I really need brave people to talk to, because I hate making people so sad as they seem to get sometimes when I just talk things the way they seem to be. It's a strange thing. It's a paradox. But anyway, the things you're saying about ethics, I agree with. People use ethical and moral language to be jerks. A lot of dogmatists use it for the purposes of manipulation, because these are the frames and the metaphors. Christianity, for example, has a bunch of metaphors and stories and roles, innocent virgin mother and so on. And these metaphorical systems are ripe for exploitation, and specifically moral exploitation, because that's kind of the domain of religion, theoretically, ostensibly. But that's like if you're an iconoclast and you let yourself be manipulated with reverse psychology, right? You always do the opposite of what people tell you, and people figure this out and tell you to do the opposite of what they really want, right? So you got to watch out for that. So ethics, that's not what ethics is. Ethics is a study of well, I'll simplify it, but let's just say, maybe we'd have to refine this, but it's a study of how you ought to treat people. But I think it's more specific than that, right? That's why you have the ethics of the law profession, you have the ethics of the medical profession, morality is in general, but there's still various moral subsectors, for, the morality of a priest versus blah, 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 the morality of someone else. There's a lot of granularity and different types and shades on what these things are, but they tend to be about how you should treat other people. Now that's not just an issue for those that want to tell other people how they should treat people that are still yet other, 2 degrees of indirection till the people that are being treated somehow, one way or another. That's not the whole question. You can be my guest to discover how much bullshit there is in that, 2 or 3 level indirection. There still remains a question of how you, Snake Plisskenist, treat other people. And if you refuse to admit that you have a system of thought, if you refuse to admit that you've even noticed patterns, let's say you have a view that I don't ever think about it, I just let it go naturally. Okay, so you do it by your intuitions, which means you're probably expressing received opinion from your childhood, whatever kind of unavoidable indoctrination or bias that you got through your childhood experiences. You're just, okay, fine. There's still a pattern to that. It could be deduced. In my experience, it'll trace back to philosophers that did state it. You might have a great granddaddy that was a Calvinist, and that's why he taught you hard work, or whatever. Somebody was conscious about these philosophies that you behaved with. So certainly you notice some sort of a pattern, and but you choose to focus on other people telling other people how to behave, and you are stunned into silence, perhaps because to even state what you think would then violate you. It would be taken as though you were telling people to agree with you. Well, I tell people what I think, and I don't tell them to agree with me for this very reason that we're discussing. I prefer the company of honest men to the company of thieves. I'm perfectly willing to state that. Now, should you share that preference with me? That really is up to you. I mean, there's thieves that definitely don't share that. They'd rather hang around with thieves and people they understand. More often, though, they'll just tell themselves everybody's thieves, and they will hang around with honest people, and they'll thieve from them. So, I don't see a problem with me stating my reasoning, how I come to a conclusion, and another person doing that for themselves. And a view like that revives questions such as those in ethics and morality. Or possibly, if you have some other term. But you can't just say, oh, a behavioral construct. Everything's a behavioral construct. We're talking about a subclass of behavioral construct that, as I say, is about how you ought to treat other people. And those rules don't have to be doctrines that come from outside you. You can figure out for yourself how you think you ought to treat other people. And that's your personal morality and ethic.